Loaded up the area around the Wabamun and Buck Lake reserves in ALCES Online for Alberta so that we can look at two key indicators quickly, the total footprint area and then also the resource royalties that have been generated that came with that footprint. We're going to look from the period of 1900 through to 2010, sort of current conditions, and then cast forward on the business as usual scenario, looking at what is likely to unfold in the next 50 years if existing investment capital and land use plans play out. We can see up here, this is the Wabamun Reserve right here, adjacent to Lake Wabamun, and then the Buck Lake Reserve down here. So I'm going to start off by starting at 1900, and you can see that most of the area there's no footprint. But as we play this scenario out, you can follow the timeline, 1920, 1930. We see the increase in land use development. So much of the area now around Wabamun Lake and Buck Lake by the mid-century had at least 50% of the area covered by footprint. And we see in 2010 significant intensity right in around here, where more than 90% of the area is being covered by footprint. This would be the probably the coal mining supporting the Genesee power plant. We see extensive footprint down here by Buck Lake as well. If you look over here on the right hand side, you can see the timeline, the graph, the actual percentages for the study area that we've selected about how much footprint there is. And so then as we proceed forward over the next 50 years, we see the likely unfolding of the next 5 decades. And it's an intensification. And when we sort of stand back, we see that tremendous amount of landscape footprint associated with this area. So now what we're going to do is we're going to switch our indicator, and we're going to go up to an economic indicator and look at resource royalties that have been generated here. And we're going to look at the totals over time, the cumulative total of resource royalties. So now I'm going to go back to 1900. And you will see over here on the graph the increasing royalties. This is the total royalties over time that have been generated. So again, we've got Wabamun Lake here and Buck Lake down below. Make sure I got those. There's the reserves, and we'll go ahead with the simulation. And I've got bring the simulation up. Okay, by 1950s we've got significant oil plays starting and massive development in the oil and gas sector in particular. Major play around Drayton Valley. And by this time, by 2010, the area that I've selected here in the model has generated approximately $153 billion in resource royalties for the province of Alberta. And as we move ahead and continue over the next 50 years, that total resource royalty number climbs to about $251 billion in resource royalties. So I guess an interesting question to look at would be the amount of value that's been obtained by the land use that's developed in this area, and then perhaps how much of that has been shared with Treaty 6 folks.